Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, a potential national security threat to Israel as some military reservists are threatening to refuse to serve amid the protest over the Netanyahu government's judicial reform measure. And the United States sending Marines to the Middle East as tensions with Iran are increasing. A spiritual harvest in Hawaii. We're going to take you to the Hawaii campus of Harvest Christian Fellowship to see how the gospel is spreading through this island paradise. And our Studio 5 interview with Nan Gurley, who plays Corrie in The Hiding Place, which is now back in theaters. Plus, a look at actor Dennis Quaid's new gospel album. All those stories and more today on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We want to begin this half hour in Israel, where protests against the government's judicial reform plan are reaching into many areas of society, including the country's military. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us this look at the impact this could have on Israel's national security.
As part of the protests, thousands of IDF reservists are threatening to refuse serving. This comes at a time when tensions between Israel and Hezbollah are on the rise. Hezbollah leaders have mocked what they see as Israel's internal weakness stemming from months of protests, including from within the military. It's inspired the Iranian-backed group to raise tensions along Israel's border with Lebanon.
So what we feel, there is an attack from inside, and we feel it's much more dangerous than any other attack.
Lieutenant Colonel Ron Scherf helps lead Brothers in Arms and began protesting this policy back in February. So far, thousands of military reservists, including senior officers and pilots, are joining the organization's pledge to refuse military reserve duty.
Israel's defense is built on the spirit, not only on the weapons and the number of soldiers. And this spirit is being torn apart by Netanyahu and his government.
The IDF's chief of staff responded that Israel remains prepared for any military challenge.
Days of dispute and crisis require an emphasis on what we have in common and what unites us, the mission of defending the state of Israel.
Certain military experts blame the reservists for crossing a line that shouldn't be crossed.
It's devastating because, it's involving politics in the army. It's something that shouldn't be done. It hurts our security.
Reserve Brigadier General Amir Avivi says while individuals have refused to serve in the past, this time is different.
We've never seen a phenomena where ex-chief of staff, generals, basically backing up the idea of insubordination. It's unbelievable. It's completely against our core values. It's against our Zionistic values. It's against the values of the army.
Reserve Colonel Kobi Marom, a former commander in northern Israel, fears Hezbollah could try to take advantage of the situation and make a foolish move.
It's not just the Hezbollah and the Iranians. They look to the situation and say the Israelis are crazy. They're fighting each other. The government don't have any intention to deal with other security issues. That's the opportunity. Let's use it.
It's not only hurting the army, it's really, really endangering Israel and might bring us on the verge of war.
Avivi, whose Israel Defense and Security Forum includes some 16,000 reservists and security operatives, says one good sign is that more Israeli generals are joining him in his fight.
Saying that they're fed up with this behavior and they want to really see core Zionistic Jewish values and patriotism and love for the country. I believe that at the end of the day, this is what will win.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, the Israel-Lebanon border.
Also in the Middle East, the United States is increasing its military presence in the region. More than 3,000 Marines arrived in the area this week. Their mission to help dissuade Iran from seizing and interfering with merchant ships in the Strait of Hormuz. After 2 years of attempts at diplomacy, the U.S. is now making a strong show of force. National security correspondent Caitlin Burke is on the story.
While the U.S. may not be directly involved in any major regional conflict, tensions with Iran are only increasing. The Islamic regime continues to launch attacks on a key shipping route, in addition to ramping up its nuclear program. Escalations that now demand a renewed American presence in the region.
The best way to avoid war is strength. Reagan said it best, peace through strength.
Thousands of Marines, backed by U.S. fighter jets and warships, are deploying to the Persian Gulf, a display of military might that's long overdue, according to Nathan Sales, former ambassador-at-large and coordinator for counterterrorism in the Trump administration.
What Iran has seen so far from the administration is one after another episodes of turning the other cheek. That's a great way to live your life as a private citizen and as a Christian. That's not a great way to run foreign policy.
The latest slap involves the regime increasing its pattern of harassing and seizing ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz, the waterway that more than 20% of the world's oil must pass through. With Iran now closer than ever to weapons-grade uranium levels, the Biden administration has finally admitted efforts to revive a nuclear deal are done, and that option is no longer on the table.
I think the important question for us to be asking the White House is, what took you so long? It's not as if Iran has been dramatically worsening its behavior lately. This is all par for the course. We've looked the other way for a good 2.5 years.
Along with this military show of force, Gabriel Nerona, former State Department special advisor for Iran, says the administration is still offering Iran concessions, giving the regime an impression that it holds the leverage in nuclear negotiations.
The State Department is still trying to negotiate something where they give sanctions relief to Iran in exchange for Iran pausing its enrichment or doing a little bit less there.
Nerona tells CBN News that while China may be the administration's top priority, the U.S. response to Iran could make a major difference in how Beijing moves forward.
If the United States sets a red line over Iranian nuclear activity, that better be something that we're willing to actually enforce. Because the results, if we don't enforce that red line, could be a completely green light to China to go and invade Taiwan.
Since the beginning of the year, we've also seen an increase in joint military exercises between the U.S. and Israel. Nerona and Ambassador Sales believe this sends a message of unity and support to allies in the region, while hopefully enabling them to step out and take on a larger role themselves. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Here's a look at some other important stories in the news at this hour. Voters in Ohio have overwhelmingly rejected a Republican-backed measure to make it more difficult to amend the state's constitution. That vote is likely to make it easier for an abortion rights measure to pass this fall. A Catholic couple is taking Massachusetts to court for preventing them from taking part in the state's foster care system. The religious liberties group Becket Law says state officials refuse to let Mike and Kitty Burke foster any children in the state because of their religious beliefs about marriage, sexuality, and gender. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey has declared a state of emergency, citing an influx of migrants seeking shelter at a time when the cost of housing continues to rise. Many of the migrants are arriving by plane from other states. Coming up, the movie Jesus Revolution took audiences to Greg and Cathe Laurie's California church, and Wendy Griffith takes us to the Hawaii campus of Harvest Christian Fellowship. See how the gospel is sweeping through this tropical island paradise when we come back. Pastor and evangelist Greg Laurie was well known long before the Jesus Revolution movie made him famous, along with their Southern California church and annual Harvest Crusades. He and his wife Cathe also lead a congregation in Hawaii. Wendy Griffith traveled to the tropical paradise to bring us this firsthand look.
Welcome to Maui and Kumalani Chapel, the Hawaii campus of Harvest Christian Fellowship.
We never had anything on the scale of what happened last Saturday.
For the past 7 years, Greg and Cathe Laurie have been leading the flock at the open-air Kumalani Chapel, mostly virtually, after taking it over from a friend. Still, several times a year, they visit their Maui campus.
We did pray about this. It wasn't as easy as you would think, and everyone thinks, oh, Hawaii, of course you'd say yes. But, you know, this is a pre-existing congregation, and now they're going to have a video feed, and that's what we give them. We give them a live video feed of what's happening in California, but it's worked beautifully. The church has doubled in size. Since the 7 years we took it over, we've seen some 2,000 people make a profession of faith to follow Christ.
How many of you are visiting? You don't live here on the island. You're
here on a trip. Well, look at all these people.
The Lauries say what's unique about Kumalani is that at any given service, visitors make up about 30% of the congregation.
It's amazing how every time we come, we meet people from all over the country, in some cases all over the world. And it's a joy to be here with the flock that live here on Maui. It's very unique. It's a very special place. The people are so friendly. This congregation has open arms for everyone.
Ohana, Hawaiian for family.
And when in Maui, the Lauries like to have some serious fun.
The sun's starting to set. Beautiful.
This is your home away from home. This is,
it is
your happy place, I guess.
Yes, you know, I've been coming here since the 70s, and it hasn't changed dramatically. But this is like called Front Street, and this is out here, this harbor. This is where they used to have the whaling boats, and this was a whaling port.
But one of your favorite places is the shaved ice place that we're about to go to.
And it's shave ice. There's no D on it.
Oh, it's shave ice.
Right, so you don't want to call it snow cones. The best. Hello. How do you like it?
I love it. I love it. Although Hawaii is one of the most beautiful places on earth and people come from all over the world to enjoy it, it's also a place where people come searching for something, even if they don't know what it is. Pastor Laurie says it's Jesus they're looking for.
Sometimes people think, oh, if I lived in Hawaii, I'd find what I'm looking for. And, you know, and you come and there is a lot of things the islands offer, but it's not in Hawaii. It's not at the bottom of the ocean. It's not in flying a rocket into space. It's not in how many homes you own or all these things. It's in a relationship with God. That's what people are really looking for.
It doesn't take very long before you realize you just keep coming up empty over and over and over again. So what we want to do is preach the gospel in such a way that they don't see it as just this church thing you do on Sunday and you check the box, but it actually becomes a living, breathing part of your life.
This church has helped me out so much. It's a blessing.
After losing part of his leg in a tragic motorcycle accident, Sean says he lost his faith. He came to Maui 5 years ago to find himself and met Jesus instead.
And then I got into adaptive surfing. And so these guys surf a lot here, and it's just a really good fit for me and the guys. I see them out at the, the local surf breaks. We just talk story and have so much fun in the water.
We moved here in 2015, and we're from Missouri, and our neighbors, they kept inviting us to this church, and we hadn't found a church home, and we haven't looked back. We come here every Sunday.
The aloha spirit is everywhere, and that's what really opens up people's hearts. Everybody feels like family.
The Jesus Revolution movie is also having an impact here in Maui as dozens of believers are lining up to take the plunge.
I am filled. I am excited. I'm on fire. This whole team was awesome.
Michelle, congratulations. You just got baptized here in beautiful Maui. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, amazing. I mean, transformed, as they say. Today was where I let go and let God into that place to just restore my soul, to give me peace.
For the Lauries, Maui is more than a tropical paradise. It's another mission field, another place to preach the gospel, baptize new believers.
Okay, there we go.
And worship the God who created it all. Wendy Griffith, CBN News, Maui.
Still ahead, after a successful run in theaters last week, the new movie, The Hiding Place, is showing once again. It tells the story of Corrie ten Boom and her family who risked everything to hide Jews from the Nazis during World War II. We're going to have our Studio 5 interview with Nan Gurley, who plays Corrie ten Boom. It's coming up right after this. High ticket demand has extended the limited theatrical release of The Hiding Place. It will now continue on the big screen, likely into next week. It's the story of Corrie ten Boom, whose family risked everything to hide Jewish refugees from the Nazis in World War II. The heroic story is told in her 1971 autobiography. Nan Gurley plays the leading role in the film. While her career spans more than 30 years, she says this role is one she was born to play.
Oh, my dear Cornelia Arnolda Johanna ten Boom. my little Corrie.
When did you learn you were going to get the privilege of fulfilling this role?
And the privilege it truly is. Ephraim, I'm glad you said that. It was one of those phone calls that you never forget. I couldn't wait for my husband to get home. When he walked in the door, I said, "You will not believe who just called me and what has been offered to me." And the first thing out of his mouth was, "You were born to do this."
When the time comes for courage, your father will give you everything you need.
So you're the best person for us to ask, who is Corrie ten Boom?
She was the first licensed female watchmaker in Holland. She was born into a godly family.
I have stared into the great darkness, Pickwick. I'm a witness.
She is a hero because at a certain moment in time, she was tapped on the shoulder and given the opportunity to join the Dutch resistance and be a part of the underground to help rescue Jews during World War II.
What brings you to town this morning, Willem?
I have some news.
She and her family, for generations, practiced hospitality. In fact, her grandfather, 100 years before World War II, began a weekly prayer meeting in their home for the Jews. Anti-Semitism was already on the rise. And so the groundwork was laid there for godliness and for hospitality. So when the moment came in 1940 for them to be a part of this, they just continued to practice hospitality. But now the stakes were very high. Now it was a life and death opportunity.
Confess!
We kept no Jews. We conducted no raids. We kept no Jews.
Do you know your father and your sister have already confessed?
Why do you think it's important for this to go from stage now to screen?
Because it will reach so many more people. We'll get to know this story. The current generation doesn't know a lot about Corrie. And it's so important for this story to be retold and retold. Not only from the standpoint that if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. But also we need to be encouraged. We need to know the names of the people in that cloud of witnesses. And the fact that it's going to be global now just thrills my soul.
Amazing. How did this change you?
Well, you can't read this story without going, what would I do? Besides just admiring her so much, I had to make personal application. And it has caused me to reflect and decide, what hills will I die on? Do I treasure Christ above all else so that I would be willing to die in order to stay faithful to Him? So it sort of gives you this perspective on what's important and to decide now. And now's the time to decide it, Ephraim.
Yeah.
Before the heat is cranked up on you, decide it now. Draw that line in the sand now and go, okay, this is what I would die for.
We kept no Jews. We conducted no raids. We were watch keepers. We kept our watches. We kept watch.
The Hiding Place movie is in select theaters now and likely through the beginning of next week. To find out where you can see it, simply go to thehidingplacefilm.com. And we've got more news from Studio 5. Actor Dennis Quaid, known for films such as The Parent Trap and On a Wing and a Prayer, is flexing his music muscle with a new gospel album. It's called Fallen, a gospel record for sinners.
On my way to heaven, so I can't be staying long.
Dennis Quaid flexes his music muscle with a new project. The album is called Fallen.
Yes.
A gospel record for sinners.
Yes.
Fallen, a gospel record for sinners. What gives birth to
A gospel record for sinners because I guess I wanted to have the widest possible audience I could have. And that's me first. I chose hymns that I really loved growing up. One of my mother's favorite as well, What a Friend We Have in Jesus.
What a friend we have in Jesus. All our
our sins and griefs to bear.
Making the rounds to share his new music, he's also sharing the life and trials that brought him back to his first love, his faith. So is this a story of faith, love, and second chances?
Yes, it is. Seems to be a theme in my life, and sometimes third and fourth and fifth.
Quaid's album is available right now. He also has a new film being released this month, August 25th, based on a true story. It is called The Hill. We've got an all-new Studio 5 for you this evening as well. We've got two great guests to bring you this week. Former NFL star Michael Oher, whose story you may think you know from the film The Blind Side, and Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter Tiffany Hudson, who is stepping out of the shadows with a new solo project. You can catch it all on Studio 5 on the CBN News Channel tonight at 8:30 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Coming up, after being married for 73 years, this couple renews their wedding vows. We're going to hear the secrets to their long, successful marriage when we come back. Stay with us.
Your news channel, your shows, the stories you care about. Anytime you want, anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
We end with a new beginning for old love. After being happily married for 73 years, one Wyoming couple decided to take the next step, renewing their vows. Mary and Richard Tarchinski gathered family and friends at their senior living facility to celebrate the big day. The newly renewed couple walked down the aisle with their signs on their walkers proclaiming their love. When asked the secret to a lifelong marriage, the couple points to a pact they made. If you want to leave, you have to take all the 9 kids with you. But their daughters say it is much more than that, pointing out their parents' relationship is special because they never gave up. Beautiful. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is covenant. Know this. With God, a covenant is more than just a binding legal document or contract. It's a relationship. And with God, that relationship is born in love and a covenant that will forever connect us to Him because we choose to believe in His Son, Jesus Christ. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. Email us, newswatch@cbn.com. Reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And come back and see us tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.